We don't have an agenda, but if it works for you, I thought I would start by making a correction and then or clarification, and then go into launch into our proposal. So I realized later when I was reviewing things that I didn't really answer your question of whether or not we bargain over job descriptions. And part of that reason is because the explanation is a bit muddled. We have language in the contract that talks about job modifications, which we have to bargain. We have mandatory subjects into the law, which they're changed, we have to bargain, right? Generally, when it comes to things like, we'll just pick on custodial for a second since they're not here. You know, if we don't tend to go deep into the weeds if it says like wax floors. If we see something that is not typically in that group or is a big change, then we would have those discussions. So I'm hoping that that clears up. This from a few sessions ago. We asked me that question and I kind of just shoveled it off without really actually giving you a real answer. So I want to make that correction on the record. And then I had some other questions about your proposal, but I think I'll present and then I'll before we go to caucus.
Yeah, and I totally agree with your, our statement, you know, at that point was I just didn't want members thinking that, oh, let's take their job description proposals and make counter proposals on job descriptions. That was the reasons why I kind of wanted to make this umbrella statement that you don't create job descriptions, but you certainly have a role, like you said, if there's a modification or a change, that there is a process for that. So
yeah, and I think you guys have been really good to me have a new job you create with job description, sharing that with us because that's new, right? But we don't typically, even in those scenarios, if certain things make sense. So
no problem.
Okay, so Mr. Secretary, yes, sir. Save one for yourself. Yes, sir.
Hey,
absolutely. So I think you're going to see something very different here. This is a multi-year approach that we're giving to you here. We've tried to kind of space some things out to make them a little more affordable, but also so that they, you know, we're not front loading or back loading. We're kind of like trying to make it a smooth across. So we'll start at the top here. Green, I believe, is where we have areas of agreement. Yellow is what we've seen before. And blue is, you know, changes. So in the first page here, you've seen all this before. It's either green or yellow, and we could probably have greened out at the bottom of that page because obviously, and the top of the next page because obviously that was in the past. So if you go to the wages for the next 3 years in this bundled proposal, you'll see we looked at your proposal with $1.25, $75, and $50, and we felt it was more equitable if we did $1 for everybody versus the biggest chunk is at the bottom, so some of that money would be distributed back up the, you know, up the pipeline to the other levels. We thought $1 would be more equitable for everybody if they get the same raise. So that's what we've put forward in the first year of this agreement. The second year of this agreement, we know you had 3% listed there. We felt 4% would be a little more just because we did get beat up pretty good in the last contract. None of our faults here, just the economy is the way it is. And it's still bouncing around that kind of 4% number. The third year, we went with the 3% that you guys had put forward in your agreement. Down below, we accepted the changes under step advance under A for the 90 days that you guys had put forward. Under B, we're proposing for the first year of the agreement to add a step, as well as the second year of the agreement. That's C. And then the third year, we wanted, Kim was nice enough to point out that our steps are all over the place, so we wanted to kind of, we talked about 5%, but when we went and looked at them, like I think the one with the highest was like 4.3 or something like that, 4.35. So we felt that a leveling of those steps at 4.5%, everybody knows they're going to get a 4.5% raise every time they move a step. It adds some, you know, easy math for those folks, and instead of guessing whether they're at 3.9 or 4.3 or, you know, that's the idea there is to smooth that out in the third year. Below that, I believe is just changes we've agreed to, both grammatical and renaming. The next page over, I don't recall, I caught this morning, of course, after everything was done, but I don't recall that with agreement from the employee, if that was agreed to or if that was your proposal, so I left it in yellow.
Which one was that?
It's on the top of the next page where it talks about for mid-year hires, payroll distribution may be adjusted with agreement of the employee. I can't remember if that was our proposal or your proposal, to be honest with you.
It's in ours.
It's in ours.
Yeah.
Well, we had, I think we used the word with discussion, and you asked for agreement.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
I think Yeah, so.
Okay.
So
Well,
with
it
agreement from could
was
be in
kind of
green
a
because that was
proposed
in our
slash
last.
direct. There you go.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's,
Combo.
and that's the
Wombo
piece I didn't
combo.
catch when I was going through this, so thank you for that clarification. Okay, so that should be in green. And then down the page, more grammatical changes. Then at the bottom here, I think we were at $1.50. I think you were at like, I want to say 80 or 90 cents. So we came back at $1 for the differential, and rather than have two differentials, just have one and make it a little clearer how it applies. So that's what you see there, those changes. Down below under A, we appreciate you guys in your last proposal making the suggestion you'd be open to that. So we just greened it out down there. We're okay with that. We did strike the above because we just feel it's cleaner to say the below date, and we did change it to years of service like you wanted. We felt that was just cleaner than putting in, 8, 10, 15, especially if it's going to be annualized. We just made it a little simpler. So that's why you see that in blue. If you turn the page and go down to PLO, okay, so you're going to see something new here. So what we're suggesting here under PLO, rather than have you pay for it, is that both sides pay each side of, as the law, set it out, each side of their contributions. However, we did, I believe number 3 already happens. We added number 2, where they'd be able to backfill with other accrued leaves. So if I get 60% of my salary, I could backfill with sick leave or vacation or whatever I have to get to that 100% for that week while I'm off on PLO, to make up the difference, kind of like you do with workman's comp. It's not the exact same scenario, but it's similar where you can backfill with other leaves. Under 4, since you guys are using a private, group that's not likely to go bankrupt, we hope, we just want to be clear that regardless if the state delays, does whatever they do, say, oh, we're going to have to suspend benefits for a month because we don't have enough in the bank or whatever, that's obviously not going to apply to your private insurer that you're paying. So we want to keep the benefits intact, so we just don't have to worry about that if we're going to use that private entity. So that's why number 4 is in there. But that is a significant change from where we were on that. Turning the page at the bottom of the one-time stipends, we've condensed this a bit and brought down some of the one-time stipend costs. That's why you'll see those in blue. But as you recall, this was better part of a page. It's now, a quarter of a page or a third of a page. We tried to narrow it down just to the key pieces where we think it makes the most sense if the district was going to adopt this one-time stipend. And it's one time for the life of the employee at the district. Let's see here. Down below, the step review placement. So we did make a couple tweaks here. We largely left your language intact. That's why it's in yellow. We want these people, during probation, they can come to you already, we feel. We want this process to be mirroring a little bit more of what we were talking about. If I feel I was wrong in some fashion, we can use this process to bring it forward. I have to prove my case. Like everything you have in here is the same. We even left D intact. We had some great discussion about that, but we felt that with discussing it with the labor manager, with Dan and the labor committee, we felt that was some transparency there. So we felt that was probably reasonable to give the person kind of their day in court, for lack of a better term. The one alteration we did make is that when it's sent to assistant superintendent, that the union is notified, just so we're aware that it's happening. And I think that's the only change to your proposal on that. You turn the page. So I believe we've adopted in this bundle, we've adopted your insurance proposal. And it was acting president. How should I say this? It was a point of contention about the
Rousing.
pooling. There you go.
Rousing
Discussion
conversation.
about the pooling.
Definitely.
But at the end of the day, we felt that this is bargaining, and we do trade one thing for another. That's how this process works. So we did pull pooling off in this bundle completely, and we were cognizant of the fact that it's close to $1 million that it would cost for the district to do that. So we made that big shift in hopes that some of the other things that we put in there that will offset some of that. Obviously, we did put $1 million back into this agreement, but we did shift a few other things. So the only thing that I wanted to kind of go over down here under C. So Vance pointed out that we're trying to with your insurance, you're trying to basically get both groups kind of lined up, with what their benefits are. If that's the case, then it's our understanding that this benefit starts this next school year with your teachers. The 500 going to 500. Is that wrong?
Is it
I
20?
think it's
It's 25 It's a year from
Yeah, it's not this. So
now.
let me double check real
We were
quick.
trying to line you up with them,
Yeah.
putting you on 24, 25.
24,
And
25.
it's 24, 25?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for
Okay.
license,
Okay, not
sorry.
23, 25. No, that's
Yeah.
okay. I mean, so with that, I mean,
But-
I guess we had it wrong, so we were fine with that proposal the way you've proposed it then, because we were trying to do the same
Line
thing,
it up.
you know? Okay, so if you want to make
Is
that
it?
notation there.
Are we positive it was 20? I'm
Yeah,
because
I'm
we
looking
were,
at it right
we were
now.
Because
negotiating.
we're already a year in the agreement.
That's the only
why.
reason I'm questioning myself is because we were,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure it was 24, 25. They go, their third year, they go to 500.
It's 24,
Yes,
25.
thank
Okay.
you.
So then that would be fine in this proposal, so you can make that change here, because we're just trying to line that up.
Perfect.
Now, under B, I think this was not, when you put it back across to me, continuous contract, but I think we changed that in the recognition to 90 calendar, did we not? In Article 2 that we TA'd? So that's why I made this change to calendar, because I think it would match. But I believe when we TA'd that, we changed that to 90 days with the understanding with the substitutes and all that stuff. So that's why you see the change there. If I'm wrong, I guess you'll let me know. So the rest of the page, I believe, is stuff that we've agreed to already from previous proposals. I did have a question under 3. So, oh, did you have a question?
Nope, go ahead. Please go.
So, I guess maybe I'm misunderstanding this. It feels like 2 days isn't a lot of time for us to get all the plans to decide, right? That's the concern. So am I getting this wrong? Do you do it in advance of that?
I'm concerned what you're proposing is hurting you, actually.
Okay.
What we're saying is we need your decisions no later than 2 days
days.
before OEB's deadline.
Okay, okay.
And if you say now you have to get it to us 10 days before their deadline, you may get 2 or 3 days with the information to figure it out.
Yeah.
They send it out and they're like, here you go, you have 10 days or so to figure it out. So
Right.
we have to get it into their system by their deadline. So we're just trying to say we can't control when they send it out. We can't control when they say it has to be in, but we've got to have 2 days just in case somebody, you know.
Yeah, and
So-
that's reasonable. It's just our side, we couldn't, I realized we didn't really talk about this in our back and forth. And then our side was a little confused whether this meant that they only had 2 days.
No.
Or, yeah.
OEB said, here's the info on June 1, you have to give us all your decisions by June 15. This says, we need it from you by June 13.
Yeah,
If
okay.
you were to do this, we'd need it from you by June 5th, and I don't want to do that to you guys. So,
Yeah.
yeah, appreciate you bringing this up, because, yeah,
Yeah.
I thought this was just a misunderstanding of what
It
it's trying
is.
to say.
And
So,
that's exactly what I want to have
Yep.
that discussion. So
Perfect.
With
Yes.
that, with that understanding, we're fine with current contract
Perfect.
language.
Yeah.
there,
Perfect.
so. And then the rest of the page is green. If you turn it, I don't know why it carried over. Well, but that's okay. If you see here, you'll see a number 10 in blue there where it shows the insurance pool is deleted, and the previous 11, 12, and 13 has been deleted. It should have been, vacation should have been on its own page, but I don't know, it got funky when it's printing. So we've adopted your schedule down here mostly. We noticed that a day fell off the 3 middle years there, the 1 to 3, of course, based on the schedule above. Because you added the 2 days, and then at the very, and then if you flip the page at 10 to 12, it's right on target. But then 20, so there's a few days there where it was off by a day. So we just added those days back in. That's what you're gonna see the difference there. But other than that, it's generally what you had there. Now, here's a change from what you've seen before too. Our less than 12-month employees, we've backed that off, obviously, from the multiple weeks we were asking for to, I think it was 5 or 6 or something, down to 5 days of vacation per year. We also put the caveat in that cannot be taken during non-contact days, because obviously you'd pay for subs and you'd pay for vacation, and that seems like a double cost for you. So, and also you have the whole process of, if you can't get subs and you have contact days and you can't, how do you give people time off, right? So we've backed that off. This is partially reflecting our wage schedule that we did this first year, especially too. 'Cause this would add a little extra money to people's paychecks. Our suspicion is a lot of people would take this week during Christmas break because they give them a little bump going into Christmas. And then down below, I don't think we've really talked about 4 a whole lot. You've seen it before, but we've crossed out the last piece of 3, which is the current language, and added 4. And the idea here too is just, it already has a cash out component in 3, but the idea here is to get people to start thinking about retirement and if they want to put money into retirement and build retirement, because we just don't know what PERS is going to do. We've all been around long enough to see what's happened already. So we're just trying to give them another option to utilize that. And if you turn the page, so we've you'll see some different stuff here. We've adopted your 11-month employee piece with one addition. We really do feel that it's important to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day. The state has signed off on it as a holiday for the state. There's a proclamation at the national level for this day, and really we do feel it's about inclusion, and it's about bringing awareness to our history. And with that in mind, we also understand that there's a cost. Okay, so what we've suggested here is we've backed off all the holidays we had multiple holidays, for 4 or 5 extra holidays for the less than 11 month folks. We've backed that off to say, hey, look, give them Thanksgiving because everybody else has Thanksgiving. It just feels right. Kind of like when we did Christmas for them for a few years ago. It just feels like one of those holidays that they should have. But that would take effect, since you have your calendar for next year already, that would take effect the second year of this agreement, the Thanksgiving for the or 10 month or less. The Indigenous Peoples Day, we want to have go into effect on the third year of this agreement. Again, to space the cost, to give you time to prepare, to give you time to schedule. So taking the multi-year approach, we've kind of spread that out over that time period so that you can better prepare for it, you can have time to budget, you can have time to schedule. That's the idea behind what you're seeing in front of you here. Now, this language, if you turn the page once more, at the top here, again, it copied over, which it shouldn't have did, but it did. I think we're largely in agreement. The only thing we added was or Independence Day, and it's for specifically talking about 11-month employees. So I don't know if we could say that in a different way that's clearer or put it under 11-month employees. It's the same scenario with Juneteenth with the less than 11-month that might get pushed past that date. It's the same exact kind of concept. So I don't know if you guys have a better way of capturing that makes that clearer. But that's the intent anyway of what you're saying. Okay. And most years it probably will not be a thing. But there might be that one year where we have all these closures and we have to go until July 5th, right? You just never know. Hopefully not. Your PERS redirect down below here. The yellow is what you proposed before. The blue is new, and essentially, it just allows people again to take their comp time, their personal days, or their vacation, and just roll that into a 403B if they so choose. The district will help get them to the people that will help them set that up. That's the intent of that. I largely think it's similar, with that exception. The rest is just your language on there on that piece. And then we had 2 more articles, Article 9 and Article 23. We're going to stick with our last proposal to you on those. We know you bundled those. We appreciate you sending that just to look at, but we want to stick with our last proposals on those for you, okay? Any questions to this before the next thing?
So on the Independence Day piece,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we would agree to that, but
Sure.
Because your proposal is if in the event that the school year gets extended and calendars get extended, so the likelihood of that is not very high. But what about in those cases? What about in the cases where we have a secretary or a whose principal says, take this year for example with Synergy. So we needed a lot of work to get done, and so, but it varied from school to school, and it could be, okay, high school, we need, because of high school scheduling, we want 2 secretaries to work on some work. It's time-sheeted work, it's not calendar work, and it goes into July, but it may be at the discretion of the employee's availability, and they just kind of work that out. That would not be a scenario where they would get, in theory, that kind of happens a little bit. There's bookkeepers and stuff, they occasionally come in and timesheet hours during their non-contract year.
It definitely adds an element. I would say, generally speaking, the mindset is if you have to work through the holiday, then you should get paid for it. That's the mindset. However, I guess what you're trying to say basically is that they're being offered extra work, essentially.
That's really it.
So I think that would be different because if they're being offered extra work versus you have to be here, right? You have to.
And a whole group of people being directed. Okay, everybody's going to work through, July 10th You know,
Or,
because
or
school.
one school,
Yeah.
you know, because you got one school gets
Oh,
a lot
yeah.
more snow, right? So they
Forgot
might
about
be in
that.
that situation where they're forced to come in because they have to fulfill their schedule, right? But that would be different than being offered extra work. And that would be different than people who come and do summer work for you too.
Summer school
Yeah.
item, and that was, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
is the intent more to capture, going back to the article, work year and work week, if we are to modify the work year to extend through.
That's the intent.
Okay.
I
Just,
mean,
just so we can
Extra
understand.
work is, I mean, you can turn it down, right? So
Right,
extra work
correct.
is
Right.
not
Correct.
the same. You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. No other questions? And one thing that I did want to point out, and I promise you, it's just an observation. Don't read more into it than that. Is that if you look at our initial proposal and you look at this proposal for you today, just looking at the wage piece of it, just to make it simple, you know, I think that we walked in with $5 ask and we're down to $1 ask. I mean, we've modified other areas to modify some of that. But the point being is that we're moving, I think, in a direction to try to get to a deal, and with the exception of, I think, on the schedule here, I'm going from F to G, it feels like we've seen a lot of the same. Now, I know this is the first time we've had a multi-year deal, so that might shift, right? And you've been doing a multi-year deal the whole time, right? We've been kind of loggerheads until we kind of got to where we felt like a good place on some of that sick leave language, one of our core issues. So I just want to point out that we are making that, we hope that this moves the ball. But it does feel a little bit, we heard this a few times from our folks that have been, you know, keeping track at home. They feel a lot's been stagnant. I keep hearing the term. They're not doing anything. And I try to explain to them the process, right, and say, that's not exactly what's happening. We've been stuck for a while because we felt we had to get a core issue resolved before we could move to a multi-year deal, you know. But I think that there's that perception. So just wanted to leave you with that going to caucus. And it's, like I said, don't read anything into it. It's nothing, you know, we're not trying to be rude or mean. It's just, there is a perception. So since we're hearing it, we want you to hear it.
Thank you.
Yep. So
Well, I definitely want to acknowledge the changes you've made in here, for sure. I think the tough part today will be costing this and trying to be able to come back with a proposal. I'm sure we'll come back with something, but being able to cost it is going to take a bit. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that to Kim, if that kind of captures your thinking.
Yeah, and definitely, absolutely appreciate, you know, the efforts that are being made, and it is absolutely accurate that you've made a lot of movement, but with the first proposal at almost 70% ask in increased wages. Unfortunately, we started at 4.5%, which we felt was a fair, you know, 4.5% overall increase. We felt was more in what the industry is seeing. We were at a conference last week, and the data is showing it's been between 2.5% and 4.5% at settlement statewide. So we came in at the top range of that. So we don't have as far to move as, you know, as your statements were. Well, we had to start somewhere.
Sure.
So I do absolutely. I think we're really now on the same page that we can look at what's important to you. If the equalization of the percentage between steps is priority, then we can focus on that. You know, there's, you know, some concern about where that spread could be because it's cumulative, right? You know, we came in with a very healthy proposal from the start because we wanted to get down to business. So we're absolutely great to take care of this, and just wanted to add to what Dan and Scott are saying, that thank you very much for, you know, I can tell you use the data we were able to work together with, and those tools we were able to share with you guys to figure out where it is. Is the spread equalization more important to you than the overall increase? I mean, so there's priority, you know, and we'd like to hear what you are hearing from your members. Is that more critical? Where, you know?
we put that in the third year because we felt that because of some of exactly what you're talking about, there is, you know, like when you look at them, they are kind of, some people will do better than others.
Right,
you know?
right.
But getting that kind of leveled out is I would say is important, but we did push it to the third year because we felt like it's something that, you know, would give the district time and, you know, effort to be able to budget and,
Uh-huh.
you know, because
Yeah.
it's gonna be a change, right?
Right.
And I would say be very cautious from my vantage point with this average 2 to 4%, because, you know, if you look at the Dallas contract, you'll see, which I bargained that, you'll see 2% first year, 3% second year, 4%. But that's not the full story.
Right,
And that's
for
the
sure.
piece that, because I got that quoted back to me another bargain. I said, but we changed the way scale. Now there's a 6% spread between steps. So that really, and we redid the scale because it was all over the place. And that really is an 8.1 to 8.4% first year. All right, the second year, we added the steps. Everybody got 9%. Right? You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, I hear what you're saying with that, and I don't doubt it, but it's just not the full story. It's just not.
100%, and that is where when we're
Right.
trying to talk, you know,
Right.
neighbors to neighbors.
Right.
You're right. It's COLA's one thing, steps are one thing,
Mm-hmm.
sick leave, vacations. You know, it is such a
Right.
package.
Right, and that's why we tried to
but
show you here.
absolutely.
We tried to show you a little bit in each year that kind of, you know, some of it's cumulative stuff that's going to stack up like COLAs, and some of it's like vacation and it's initial cost, but it only goes up the percentage of the raise each year, not, it doesn't double and whatever like the COLA would. We tried to give you a whole bunch of different things here kind of mixed through the 3 years so that we could kind of, you know, justify it to our members. I think this package, I think we can, and I think that it itches the scratches they got. Let's just put it that way. So, mostly, no one's ever 100% happy, right? Any other questions or comments? Or? All right, shall we caucus? And
yeah.
you'll have to text with me today. Vance is gone, and acting
Okay.
president didn't want to do it.
All right. So this includes all of our proposals, and
All outstanding
it's
articles?
all remaining open articles are in this proposal, and copied there for you, so you have the most up to date. Even though some of them are the same language you've seen in previous, but
Sure.
so I will walk us through what's different, and Kim, if you can kind of make sure that I don't miss anything, because some of them might be small there. So we'll start with Article 3 and what we're hoping to retitle compensation. So our counter proposal is to maintain the $1.25 in columns C through F. And one of the reasons for doing that is we get to the vacation, we're going to maintain our position around not having 10 and 11 month have vacation, but since most of our 10 and 11 month employees are in CNF, we're keeping that wage above the other columns, but we are meeting you where your proposal was at, where it was $1 across the board. Does that make sense?
I understand. Yeah.
So C through F still get the $1.25, and all columns are at all other columns at $1.
Okay.
And then maintaining our position on 3% in the next 2 years.
You ready?
And let's see if there was any other changes in that. We did agree with some, we did reword the longevity stipend, but tried to get it more simplified, which was what you were aiming to do. We do have a counter proposal there in paid leave Oregon. And I think it gets, A and B gets at what you were asking for, just worded differently.
All right.
And then the step placement review, the counter proposal there is instead of the probationary period within a first year of employment, we just don't want to have to be going back, so far and try to look at the situation. So we had a counter proposal there that within the first year of employment, and then rewording that the request comes to the assistant superintendent, and the assistant superintendent will share it with the union chapter president. So that the employee submits it to, in this case, me. I share it would be with Vance, and then so that's that language there.
Okay. I didn't see anything mentioning steps. Are we maintaining the same amount of steps?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And then let's see. With insurance,
I think it's all the same.
Same.
Yeah.
was there one?
There were some, wasn't there a small update? I'm sorry, I'm trying to recall at the top. No.
Well, the one thing was in E that we did change it to 90 calendar days per
Yes.
the change in the recognition clause. That I knew there was something small in
right.
there.
Yeah,
Discipline of employees is the same as our package proposal from our last one. Reclassification proposal is the same position that we've had maintained. Vacation, we did accept your proposal that you brought to us this morning.
The number of days.
The number of days. Yes, thank you for the clarification.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Holidays is mostly the same, but we did add a sentence there about Independence Day.
Okay.
Do you guys have holidays? Might just be missing from mine.
I got it right here.
We got it.
Emergency school closure is what you've seen before.
Okay.
Sick leave. So we have a piece there called sick leave saving option. Any employee who has an available balance of 40 or more sick leave days accrued during employment with the district may elect, with notification to the district in May, to have a maximum of 5 days cashed out in June. So, as opposed, if they elect to put those in a 403B, they can do that,
Absolutely.
but they can cash those out.
Okay. So I had a question on 5 that I didn't have the first time we talked about it. It's not new here. You guys made the comment that, and I'm just asking the question, I'm not going anywhere with it, just clarification. If they're 10 years and they leave with you after 10 years, they can cash out their 50% of their sick leave, right? But they can't also go to PERS with it, right?
They can cash out their hours at 50% of their rate of pay, so not 50% of their hours.
Okay, you broke my brain. Let's go with that again.
Let's say I have.
If I have 100 hours.
I have 100 hours. I can cash out 100 hours at half of my ending rate of
I
pay.
see.
It's not a cashing out 50 hours at my full rate of pay.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm understanding. That makes
So-
more sense with the other piece then.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a slight change though on 5 in this one is we used to have a period after that last sentence that says any hours paid will reduce reported to PERS. We added or subsequent employer because leave follows you.
Mm-hmm.
So we just want to make sure that if you cash it out here, it can't just still exist.
Right,
In
right.
any way, shape or form, PERS or another employer.
No, why I was confused is because if you had 100 hours and you're cashing out 50, why would
Then
you
you-
care if they got 25 from PERS, right? Because the district doesn't pay for that, right? It's-
Oh yeah, it affects our UAL.
Oh, does it?
100%. Oh, 100%.
You know, I can't get the same two districts to agree to the same thing. They all tell me different
Your
things.
unfunded liability is based on what PERS thinks your pension debt is going to be
Gotcha.
for the lifetime, based on
Yeah.
death rates and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is the way I understood it, but I got told something different.
Okay.
So I need to talk to that
And of
district
course,
again.
OPSERP,
Yeah.
it won't, you know,
Right, right.
they're,
Yeah, they're different
and then
animals.
which formula do they choose? And so, yeah, there's,
But regardless, I understand what you're doing here now.
got it.
Okay, thank you.
And then strikeouts and lockouts is the same as the package proposal, which was, agreeing to your previous proposal of striking out the including discharge language, and then term of the agreements, our previous proposal. So,
Alrighty, well, that'll give us something to work with. Appreciate you guys doing that. Can you send it to me electronically since I kind of spaced doing that for you?
yes, we will send that to you electronically.
do it, but it-
And then I have a grievance procedure here for signatures
separate.
before
right,
we
yeah. Okay.
grab our pizza. Thank you,
Sorry.
Owen, for picking up a pizza for everybody.
Yeah.
Exactly. We will say, additionally, you asked about additional steps. We decided to stick with the annual longevity is why those steps weren't in there.
Gotcha. PERS redirect, I didn't see a count on that.
Our same proposal and
But it's-
not as part of a package,
not.
so as
Oh,
our
okay.
previous proposal.
And it's not part of the CBA, right? I mean, it is,
It's a side letter, essentially. I mean,
Yes.
that's
it's a
why we
one-off.
wouldn't
Correct.
have it.
Yeah.
It wasn't a proposal, we called it other items in our last agenda, because it's
Right.
not an article or a proposal.
Correct.
Well, it would be a proposal to settle that complaint.
Correct,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So I understand what you're saying.
Right,
but
yeah, perfect.
Okay, that's, I just wanted to know, so that's remaining the same.
Remains the same.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Now, it appears that I'm running out of ink in my printer, so we got some interesting things going on here.
Interesting
I'm trying
color
to go through
schemes.
as we go through, yeah.
Psychedelic. Thank you.
All right, so on the front page here, it looks kind of bluish at the top there, but I believe that's what we've already agreed to. If not, please tell me, but I don't think we have any major problems at the top of either your proposal or ours. They may not be in full alignment, but it kind of looks bluish there because I think I'm running out of green ink. Down below, it should be all the same. Turn the page. So using what you brought us last time, and this is kind of, it looks green-blue, but it should be green. We've kind of adopted what you've said here with $1.25 in the buck, and we've even adopted the second and third year at the 3%, but we did add in some things elsewhere, so don't get too excited.
Okay.
All right. Down below, I believe this should all be green, even though it looks kind of a mix. Oh, except for step 2. We did put forward here, we had quite a long discussion about this, and even called Vance. Figured if I was missing my vacation day, so should he, right? No, I'm just kidding. But we put in here that to reindex that up to 4.5%. I believe it's currently at 2.5. So that's a change there. If you turn the page, down in 7, I think you're at 80, and I think we came to 85 cents on that premium pay there, and cleaning it up, making it a little more precise in the language. That's the only change there. If you turn the page, so PLO, we adopted your language here, but we didn't see our number 4, so we made it the number C here. And again, this I'm hoping that American Fidelity or whoever you're using doesn't go out of business over this, but since we're using a private option and you pay that private option already, we're just saying we just want to make sure that for the life of this agreement we have that benefit. So if the state has to halt theirs because of lack of funds, that shouldn't affect the private sector. That's the intent of that. So if it was a public sector, that would be a different story. And we have a few groups that are using the public, and we have different language for that. So that's why we put that back in there. And I put a note here for you, Dan. 12. It says one-time stipend. You haven't responded to it. Right next to it says 4 language in 15 and 18. So we'll let you decide which you hate more. Okay.
Okay.
So you'll see in 15 and 18 we've largely adopted your language with that caveat for the one-time stipends.
Okay.
So 14, we realize you guys put in there 6 months then 1 year, and I understand why you're doing that. We also heard you saying you don't want to be on the hook forever if something comes up. I think since you have sole discretion, I don't think that's the case anyway. But we did want to put like a time window, because there's people with grievances and axes that they want to grind because they don't feel like they have a way to have this discussion. So we threw in 10 years, so it wouldn't be forever, but if they don't know by then that something's wrong, then I don't know what to do about that. So the idea being is that they can bring it forward, they can get a fair hearing, they still got to meet the requirements of proving everything. You're having evidence to support what they're claiming, not just a complaint. So that's why we came up with that number. We felt that it's not forever, but it's not unlimited, but it does. If people don't know in that time frame, then I'm not sure what we can do to help them with that. So
If we were to entertain because our last proposal was 1 year.
It was.
If we were to entertain increasing that, what would be, so I would want to put in something to the effect of their original placement. I don't want people going and saying, well,
Changing
now
their
I've
mind.
done this thing, this
Yeah.
and that, now
Yeah.
it would be based on,
yeah.
so,
and that's the intent. I'll
Okay.
tell you. So
All right.
if we need to clarify that further, that's fine. The idea is even if you use the person with 20 years ago you did this to me, it was 20 years ago. It wasn't like, 10 years you did this to me and 5 years you did this to me, right? It's the initial placement that they didn't take into account. That's what we are talking about. All right, so Article 4 remains the same. Yeah, at the bottom there, the deleted pool and stuff. And then 9 is our same proposal we gave you, where we agreed to the 10 consecutive days. I think we have it greened out, but I don't know that you actually agree with all of this. I think you wanted to change part of it, but this is our original proposal you saw last time. Nothing's changed, so pardon the color if I got it on a couple things there that we're not supposed to be. All right. 15, we show it green with the caveat I said earlier. 16, we show green with what you've told us about acceptance of those other days being put back in. There is one change on the next page. So we had the cash into a 403B or cash. We already have cash out language a little bit in here, or paid out. We thought that maybe a middle ground to this, since you guys don't seem to be very interested in helping people set up the 403Bs and, you know, and diverting wages and different things into that maybe just if they hit the cap, they could cash a week. So we threw that in there as maybe a way to get us past that. So take a look at that, see what you think of that. But that's it in that article that's not greened out. Now, we tried to do something a little different here since we knew vacation was not a thing that you're super interested in. I don't know that you're super interested in holidays either, but I figure you're less super uninterested anyway. What we did here is we added New Year's Day in for the 12-monthers. And to take, these are asterisks, and I'll explain that below. And then we added Christmas Eve into the 11-monthers. And then we added Thanksgiving and New Year's Day into the less than 11-month folks. And down below you'll see the different asterisks. If it's 2 asterisks, it goes into effect in the second year of the agreement. If it's 3 asterisks, it goes into effect the third year of the agreement. The idea here again is just to build a little more equity with these different groups, since they're all pretty much here in one fashion or another during this time. It's not like Independence Day, or I should say the 4th of July, or it's not like, what do you call it, Juneteenth, where there's groups that are just not here working during that time. So we'll take a peek at that. Down in 4 and 5, we accepted that language there. You'll see it's in the proposal. Turning the page, again, 18, we show that green out with the caveat I mentioned earlier. 19, I believe we're in alignment with both groups on this, so everything is green. And 23, I think we're in alignment, so everything is green on that in this bundle. And then 28, you know, I put 4 back in. I really do feel there's value for people to see this, especially since we're repeating 2 and 3 is actually in these articles. It talks about what's going on in those articles. But I think if the idea is that we have it here so people can see it, they should see the whole process, including this one that we're doing right now. So I did slim it down, so it just says it'll follow that ORS, so if they're interested, they can look it up. But I do think it's good to have a notation of what this process is, because it is different than all the other bargains we do, right? So that's there. Down below, you'll see in this proposal, we have deleted the PERS redirect. I think much as you might have mentioned, it might have been traded off to bring down the cost for some other things in here, so to save the money and reapply it elsewhere. So that's what we got from you.
Thank you for your hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So half of it was
Any
just
questions,
talking about
team?
everything, you know, and getting everybody on the same page, let me tell you. No questions? Not even how your weekend? What are you doing this weekend? No.
It was fine. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
All right, shall we caucus, and then it'll be your turn to text me when you're ready?
Yeah. Kim, do you have anything? I can tell the wheels are
I'm
turning.
trying to absorb just to, before, we know where to find you.
We're not going far
We're
away.
not
Yep.
far out.
Awesome.
Okay, so our package proposal, starting with the compensation article. So we counter-proposed step 8 would be a 3.5% above step 7 on the wage scale.
Okay.
We are increasing in years 2 and 3 from 3% to 3.25%, and that is in response when we get to the holidays article, we're not expanding holidays.
Gotcha.
So instead of holidays, you're seeing that in the COLA increases of 0.25 in the second and third year.
Okay.
And team, is there anything else in that article?
Yes,
Oh, yes,
shift
shift differential. So shift differential, we are increasing to $1, and that is for language in 15 and 18.
Jesus. Okay.
So, there you go. I don't know if touche is in order or anything there, but. So on paid leave Oregon, we left out the C in part because if we decided to switch to the state,
But you can still do it after the life of this agreement.
well, again, we just did not want to be responsible for something if something outside of our control changed.
All right, understood.
And then in the step placement review, we increased it to 2 years. We also changed a word to 2 years of placement. So we thought that if someone goes from being from one position into a different position, their placement could get changed, and so their placement. So that person, even though they've been with the district for 8 or 10 years, it's 2 years of a placement decision. So, so we thought that would allow someone who may want to question a placement to be able to do that regardless of when they started. So,
Okay.
so that's
We'll
2
look at that.
years there. Insurance has not changed. Discipline of employees. So in our last, so on 3B, our last proposal was 15 working days and 25 working days. And you were sticking with current contract language, which had went from working to calendar, which has been current contract language. So we've changed this proposal to have the written decision within 10 working days, which is current contract language, but not to exceed 20 working days. We would really like to have how we count those days to be the same. And we do occasionally run into situations where being able to meet that deadline gets difficult due to mitigating circumstances. So
Okay.
other than that, that one's the same. Reclassification's the same. Vacation, in maximum accrual, you can see that our counter proposal to your cash out is employees with 10 or more years of continuous service may request in writing a cash out of up to 5 days, 30 days prior to their anniversary date. And we just think that people with less than 3 weeks of vacation need to be taking vacation. We don't want people with, you know,
Is that where the change is at 10 years?
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So we just feel like anybody with less than that really needs to be taking time off, and we don't want to incentivize people not taking time off.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
and then again, in the holidays, we kept with our previous proposal because we put more in the COLA. Emergency closure is the same, sick leave is the same. Strike lockout's the same, and then we incorporated your term of the agreement language.
Okay. Well, I don't have any questions. It's pretty straightforward, team. Okay, we're in, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Your turn.
All right, we'll go back and work on this and hit you up. All right, so back on record here. So this is gonna look very similar because we took your proposal and we tweaked 2 pieces of it. If you look on the first page there under B, we put in 4% instead of 3.5 for step 8. If you turn 2 pages in, we just copy and pasted our language that made it 6 hour, before 6 and after 6, but not in between. So they work from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's normal, but outside that. So we hope that's the only changes. The rest of this is your packet. So if it's wrong, it's on you. If you guys need a caucus, or do we feel that that's
We
have a deal?
We have a deal.
All right,
Yeah.
yeah, all right. Congratulations, everybody. Thank you for the hard work.
Well, thank you guys for your hard work, and really appreciate your team's always willingness to be available, come to the table.
Sorry.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there are
I
some.
heard TA.
uh,
We do need to, we did not agree to cross off in the regular position.
Oh,
What
and
does that change?
Like if they're working at a football game, they don't get the extra differentials and stuff.
Is that their rate? Would that be the regular, would that be
It's,
extra?
That's at the supervision rate, but if the way this says, anybody who performs work at or after 6, before 6, or outside their regular shift hours, we did not agree to that either.
Outside of the regular shift hours?
No.
so when we went
Yeah.
back, so when,
Okay, so
well, when you
what's-
brought that to our attention in
Yeah.
our sidebar, what we prepared said.
How would those situations apply though? Because they would be under the supervisory rate if they were doing a football game.
Mhm.
So what would striking that language do? Because we have a contract.
They do not get the extra dollar. It's only the shift differential as proposed.
Yeah,
Employees who perform work in their regular position at or after 6 p.m. or before 6 a.m.
yeah.
will receive $1 per hour. And that's not how this came back.
Can I see that?
Uh-huh,
Is that
of
mine?
course.
Yours?
Mine,
Yeah, just so I can
yeah,
look at that, see
I'm
what we're
looking at
talking
it right
about
now
here.
for you.
Nice job. How you going?
sorry. No, I
No,
know,
no,
it's just
don't.
all
I'm
these
giving you a
little,
compliment.
yeah.
That's a good thing. No, I was being
So
genuine.
we go with your changes, employees that perform work in the regular
I've been trying to get
position.
it all in and finding it.
Or
I've just made.
Thank you.
who work their regular position at or after
Maybe.
6
I think
p.m.
always.
Okay, no, I did
That's
that.
not what I wanted
It did,
to
but
actually-
I'm seeing what your changes are to see if they capture what we're saying.
Not that linked wrong. I'm
Will
sorry.
receive $1.
That's the
Yeah.
earlier one. We were thinking we were just adding at or after, or the after 6 p.m. or before 6 a.m. or between the hours.
Yeah,
of, I guess,
we
is
had
what
drafted
said.
up a
Okay,
proposal because we thought it was.
okay, that's what we're trying to do.
Right.
Which is why I think we struck out all the extraneous language because it just made it cleaner.
Right, but this would mean if I'm working a football game, I get another $1 on top of the supervision.
Yeah, that's
rate.
not
We
the
can't-
intent.
So
Yeah.
our language said employees who perform work in their regular position between the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. will receive $1 an hour
For every hour worked.
per
So
hour.
what if, let's say I'm a day person and I come in, you need me to come in at night. It's not my regular position. I think that's what.
That's your regular position.
It's your regular position. If you are doing something else.
You're talking like extra duties, what you're talking.
Yeah,
Yes.
You-
I think that's the confusion. We thought
Okay.
extra duty would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Clarify
So
that.
sorry. No.
We call you in to come in at 5. to
Your
get roads
role,
ready.
yeah.
You get, that's your regular.
That's your
Yeah.
regular,
Okay.
maybe regular role, regular, yeah.
I understand.
It might even be simpler just to say anybody who works between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. would get the $1, right?
But-
Just, what do they need? to break?
But then
That's
it's not, yeah, I know.
A supervisory job.
Exactly, I know, or coming in on some other some other work, not really,
Yeah.
bargaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's $1 for that.
It's like a back to school night or.
If you're there because of your regular position, that is extra duty on your regular position. If you were there,
That would just be extra duty.
It'd almost be simpler to just put
Yeah, we're
excluding
feeding
extra duty
people,
into
but
that
just like
section.
for this to
The boarding
qualify,
needs-
like if I volunteered, like I'm a cook, right? So if they're like,
Exactly.
hey, can you come watch the soccer game or help with that? Would that?
this would not
That
apply.
would-
Because that's extra duty, right?
It is you in
But
a
it's extra
sense.
duty by the contract, right?
It is supervision, extra, so yeah, the term extra,
For by the district.
correct.
Yeah.
If the district is asking you to come or to work after 6 p.m. or before 6 a.m. in connection with your contracted role, I guess, is
Yeah.
what we're intending. So if you get a call out and it's between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m., it does have another $1 on it.
Okay.
If you go to the play because we need somebody to take tickets,
Gotcha.
the $1 doesn't apply because that
It's
is,
not regular duty.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
so we're trying
You're putting
to,
it together. huh?
exactly, we're
Yeah.
just trying to say that
Would it be easier to put in there excluding, I mean, list that part of the section?
it could exclude any kind of other role though, like.
What other roles would there be? I guess I don't want too deep in this.
Exactly, we just
Yeah.
want to, we want to follow your
Yeah.
contract,
Yeah.
and so we were trying to clarify. Anybody who performs work after 6 p.m. before 6 a.m. Relating
Well, it's
to
not
their,
really changing the practice
No.
other than we're
No.
making sure.
Of the time
For the
frame.
time.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was the strikeout of the regular position piece that we thought was broadening it, that for these other things
Right.
that weren't intended.
Right. We,
So,
We have the stipends back instead. I think we can figure that out. I'm not as concerned about that. We really are, our thinking was that we have that pay rate in that section of the contract, so it wouldn't apply. We're not trying to apply it to
Okay.
that, right? So that's why we were thinking it through. It's just, hey, look, it's just simpler if you say, if you're working this time, you get this. But I could see where somebody could put that, so well, I want this higher paying supervisory rate and I want the dollar, right? And that's not our intent at all. So that's why I was thinking we could almost, because I can't think of.
you know what? And hang on. So can you guys read 10? Does
yeah,
10
10
cover
outlines
us?
everything, and it even says.
Do not
that-
qualify for overtime or shift
Shift
differential working because they are considered occasional or sporadic.
And
So
that-
even if it wasn't supervisory and occasional or sporadic,
That's why we thought it was. covered.
okay,
Yeah, sorry.
sorry, it just was different than what we proposed. So I'm
It
just
was.
trying to,
It was.
yeah.
Yeah, but to be fair, I said I was using ours, but we talked in the hall, but that. So does it?
I
work
thought you
with
said
that?
you were using our proposal. So
Changing those two parts using your proposal, which is what we did.
got it.
But does that fix it with, while you're at 10, does that work?
Well, we had drafted up a TA because like I said, we're drafting up TAs
Yeah.
for each of the articles. So what we've drafted was employees who perform work in their regular position between the hours of 6
Mhm.
PM and 6 AM will receive $1 per hour supplemental pay. That's what's in our team document that we have prepared.
Right. So, but let's say we drop regular positions, so we don't get in that argument later, does, with that language clarification in 10, doesn't that work? Or that's what we were looking at, we feel like it's defined in that section over there, which you just read. It's not, they don't get it, right?
Yeah, I feel like. Mhm.
Now, I'd rather keep, I mean, this is the language that's been in there. I'd rather just keep that in that regular position that's been in the
I think as
contract.
long as we agree that we're talking about people that perform work, and it's not.
We're only talking about
other-
work performed.
Right, not,
Between those hours.
Yeah.
So if you only work till 7, there's only 1 hour.
That's right.
supplemental.
Yeah,
Okay, we want to make,
or
yeah,
if you
that's how
get
we're.
called in for 3 hours from 9 to
Then-
midnight, you
right.
would be, you know,
Right.
that's really, it meant to be a
Yes.
regular position, right? But doing that work during that time. Somebody has to call out sick and you need something turned around, let's say a custodial thing, you need to have something done. You call somebody in, wouldn't they get that extra $1?
Correct.
Yes.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
I think
Then let's go with
application,
language with that
Yeah.
understanding, because
Okay.
that's what we were trying to get at this
Yes.
whole time.
Yeah.
Boy, one little sentence.
sorry,
You know,
so
stipends.
sorry. Well, it's so that it
It's
doesn't
okay.
come up again later.
Yeah.
So I'm
I agree.
really,
Let's
yeah,
Get it cleared up here.
sorry.
Yeah,
Didn't
okay.
We discussed.
Well, see,
so
the language
the
hadn't
green
changed,
line,
our language
fine.
hadn't changed. But I told you what we were trying to accomplish with our language, I just copied it in there thinking that this is.
I
you know,
apologize. I had thought we were just adding between the hours of 6 PM and 6 AM. I didn't know we
So,
were
well,
changing. the
that's what we
language.
intended, so
Okay.
I guess we got there, just took the long road. So, all right, so if we're good, we will switch that page. You want to give us your version of that? You wanna print that page? We'll
We just put a little note on there and on what you, but we can do that.
But we're
We'll
gonna-
do that because we'll
wanna-
just initial one, and then we'll do the official TAs, and then we'll have it all done tonight.
Okay.
Also go start printing.
All right, we
Is
could
the-
probably go off record unless somebody's got anything else.